Bowl season has officially arrived in 2025, and in this video I'm going to predict every single FBS bowl game, and I am going to predict the score as well as the spreads and the over-unders for each game. Now I'm recording this after the Washington-Boise State game. I will still give the prediction that I had in my notes for this game, but I am late on predicting that game because the results have already happened. But the good news is I should have this video up before Jacksonville State plays Troy and all the other bowl games are, and especially the playoff games. So I will be predicting the first round playoff games in this video as well. So let's get into my predictions, starting off with Washington and Boise State. This game was played December 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Washington did win this game 38-10. I had them winning 31-17. I had them covering and I had the under. All those have hit so far. So I'm 1 for 1 on the spread, 1 for 1 on the over-under. I figured Boise State was not going to be able to run the ball against that very stout Washington defense that really contained Oregon's run game. They have one of the top run defenses in the nation. And this is just a very solid Big Ten team. They didn't have any key opt-outs, and they have a lot of offensive explosiveness. That's why they won this game and covered. Let's move on to the next game, which is Jacksonville State versus Troy, Tuesday, December 16th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And there's really not a lot of value and respect for the Conference USA, as they are not really that far off from being just a good FCS conference. While Troy played in the Sun Belt, I'd say a little tougher conference, and they had a solid year. They even went to the Sun Belt Championship game. Troy's defense has not been that bad. I think they'll be able to contain Cam Cook at running back, and they'll win this game in a very close one. So give me Troy 28-23, covering -3.5 the under. The next game is South Florida versus Old Dominion, Wednesday, December 17th, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Both quarterbacks have opted out for this game, but personally I like the South Florida talent more. I like the weapons they have at wide receiver and that run game. Old Dominion has had their dominant games, but they're like San Diego State. Yeah, they did win 9 games, but they didn't play any great teams, and they really played a lot of bad competition that helped them run up the scoring games. And without Colton Joseph, who was able to pass the ball and run the ball and be a great leader on offense, I think they'll struggle. South Florida was just in a tougher conference. Old Dominion played James Madison, and they lost by 30. I like South Florida in this game, 31-16, -7.5, and I have the under. The next game is Delaware versus Louisiana, Wednesday, December 17th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I think these offenses are both pretty explosive, but again, I just can't trust these Conference USA teams, especially a team like Delaware. They're still new to the FBS, and they really did not have a great defense at all this year. Give me Louisiana 41-27, covering -3.5, and I have the over. The next game is Arkansas State versus Missouri State. And again, although this team is from the Conference USA making a bowl game, that conference is not great. Missouri State gave up 40 points the last 2 weeks. And I do believe that Jalen Raynora is playing in this game, their star quarterback for Arkansas State. I have not heard any opt-out rumors about him, but I just think Arkansas State will be too much offensively. I think it could be close, but give me Arkansas State 33-27, covering -2.5, and I have the over. The next game is Western Michigan versus Kennesaw State, Friday, December 19th, 11 a.m. These are two conference winners, but when you compare them, Western Michigan had the much better defense this year. There's times where that Kennesaw State defense fumbled, and Western Michigan played tougher competition. Their defense was stout all year, and the quarterback is really good. Lowry passed the ball for 1,600 yards, 940 rushing yards as well, with 21 combined touchdowns. And on the ground, I think Western Michigan can dominate this game. And I like Western Michigan to win this bowl game outright, 31-20, covering -3.5, and I have the over. The next game is NC State versus Memphis, Friday, December 19th, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Memphis could always play competitive with these mid-power 4 teams. NC State is not great. They're not the same team that they used to be under Dave Doeren. They're a bit down lately. The defense was pretty bad this year. I do think this could be a shootout, and it will be close. But ultimately, I do believe CJ Bailey is playing. I think he'll make the difference in this game. He'll make enough plays. Give me NC State 35-28, covering -5.5, and I have the over. Now we move on to the 4 playoff games in the first round, starting off between 8-seed Oklahoma, 9-seed Alabama, Friday, December 19th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. These two teams already played before, and it just seems like since that game, Alabama has gotten even worse, while Oklahoma, they're playing very good defense. And they beat them the first time. They have this game at home, and I trust them to beat them again. Why not? Oklahoma's been very good at forcing turnovers, and I just cannot trust this Alabama offense to get anything going, especially running the ball. It's going to be a tough atmosphere playing at Norman, Oklahoma. I like Oklahoma 21-17 covering plus 1.5 and a half the under. The next game is 7 seed Texas A&M versus 10 seed Miami, Saturday, December 20th, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. I think Miami could win the trench battle in this game, and ultimately this secondary might be able to contain those A&M wide receivers. Both these secondaries have struggled at times, but Miami is much better than last year, and I really think this is a very talented team. If Carson Beck can just not turn the ball over and they can play up to their standard, Miami is dangerous. And personally, I think they have been a team that can battle with the best teams, but also play down to their competition. And I like them to play up to their competition in this game and beat Texas A&M on the road. Give me Miami 27-24. A&M has struggled to stop the run. Miami can run the ball. I like Miami winning this game and covering plus 4.5 the under. The next game is 6 seed Ole Miss versus 11 seed Tulane, Saturday, December 20th, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I don't think this game is going to be as ugly as last time. Tulane did not play a great game at all. They turned the ball over in some bad scenarios. I think they're a well-coached team and they will bring their best, but ultimately Ole Miss is the superior program and they have too much talent offensively. Tulane's passing defense has struggled this year. Give me Ole Miss 38-20. I like them to cover minus 16.5 and I have the over. The next game is the last game of the first round playoff games. 5 seed Oregon playing 12 seed James Madison. This one is going to be ugly. The last time Oregon played a group of 5 team in the postseason that was winning a lot was Liberty. They beat them 45-6, I believe. This game is going to be similar. Oregon is just built in the trenches. They're going to wear down James Madison. I like Oregon 45-7, covering minus 21.5, and I have the over. The next game is Utah State versus Washington State, Monday, December 22nd, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And personally, this is going to be a lower scoring battle. Washington State's defense has been stout. Utah State's defense has showed improvement as well. But Washington State really hasn't struggled with these group of 5 teams. I like them to win this game 28-16, covering minus 1.5, and I have the under. The next game is Louisville versus Toledo, December 23rd, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. As of the making of this video, there's no big opt-out news with Louisville, but I am a bit worried because of Isaac Brown and some of those talented receivers. Toledo is not a team you want to take lightly. They beat Pitt last season. They have been competitive with decent Power 4 teams, and they have a top defense in the nation. I think they'll battle in this game, but ultimately Louisville just has a lot much more talent. And with Miller Moss back and rolling the game he had against Kentucky, I think he'll have a good finish to the season. I like Louisville 27-17, covering minus 9.5, and I have the under. The next game is Southern Miss versus Western Kentucky, Tuesday, December 23rd, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Southern Miss was really solid this year. They had a collapse near the end of the season. They had their quarterback injured and had some injury struggles. But with the rest in the season that they had, I think they come into this bowl game motivated. I think both these teams are pretty even offensively and defensively. Western Kentucky might have the advantage defensively, but Western Kentucky hasn't had the greatest run game this year. There's times where the offense has been lackluster, and with Braylon Braxton at quarterback, I think Southern Miss can get this win. I think they'll play inspired football. So give me Southern Miss 31-28. I like them covering plus 2.5, and I have the over. The next game is Ohio versus UNLV, Tuesday, December 23rd, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I would love to see both these very talented quarterbacks play in Parker Navarro and Anthony Calandria. And personally, these defenses haven't been super consistent. I think this could be a high-scoring shootout. I do think UNLV's defensive line was at least okay. They might be able to get to the quarterback in this game. Ohio's offensive line has really struggled at times. Then I really just like Anthony Calandria over Parker Navarro. I think these teams are close to evenly matched, but give me UNLV 38-31. I like them to cover minus 4.5, and I have the over for this game. The next game is Hawaii versus California, Wednesday, December 24th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Hawaii will probably play tough against California. It will be played in Hawaii, and this is a young and inspired Hawaii program. Micah Alahado is on the rise, but California also has a quarterback on the rise. Jared Sagapolitelli is supposed to be returning for next season. I haven't heard any big opt-out rumors, and personally I like this Cal team more. So give me California to get this win, 31-24, covering minus 1.5, and I have the over. The next game is Northwestern versus Central Michigan, December 26th, 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday. And really, Northwestern is not that bad of a team. They should be a much bigger favorite against a Central Michigan team that played absolutely nobody this year, even though they are going bowling. Northwestern is not bad defensively and even offensively. Preston Stone was stepping it up. They have a stout run game. And I just think the Big Ten has a lot of value in these bowl games. Give me Northwestern 31-13, minus 12.5, and I have the under. Speaking of the Big Ten, we have Minnesota playing New Mexico Friday, December 26th, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, New Mexico, with that defense, they could challenge in this game. They're an inspired team looking for a double-digit win season. You want to find the last time New Mexico was able to win 10 games in a season, you have to go all the way back to 1982. Their head coach is on the rise, and he's really done a great job with his team. But ultimately, Minnesota is just going to be too much in the trenches, and that run game will lead them to a win. They're also a well-coached team with PJ Fleck. I like Minnesota 27-21 covering minus 3.5, and I have the under. The next game is UTSA versus FIU Friday, December 26, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Oh my, this is going to be a big shootout because both these defenses have absolutely fumbled at time, giving up 40, 50 points. I do like UTSA though. Their highs are very good, and with the rest, I do think they'll come out and play a good game. FIU's defense is not great, and they played better competition in the American Conference. I like UTSA in this game. I think they win it 42-28, covering minus 8.5, and I have the over. The next game is East Carolina versus Pitt, Saturday, December 27, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Pitt's defense might be a little bit too much for East Carolina in this game. They had a pretty solid season. I think Pitt is the better team. I like them to win this game 34-23, covering minus 6, and I have the under. The next game could have been a national title game if these teams weren't just completely overhyped to start the season. I'm talking about Clemson and Penn State. They will play Saturday, December 27, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. I think this is going to be a battle, a very close game. Both these teams are going to be looking to end the season on a good note. But personally, Clemson has retained more. Penn State is losing multiple players to the NFL draft that have opted out. There's been rumors about their running backs opting out as well. And I think Dabble will have this team ready to play inspired football. They ended the season on a very good note. I like Clemson 27-24, covering plus 1.5, and I have the over. The next game is the Army versus UConn Saturday, December 27, 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Army is always a disciplined and well-coached football team, and with UConn having a bunch of opt-outs, I think they could challenge UConn in this game. They can limit possessions and keep this game low scoring, and I like them to win this game 24-23, covering plus 3.5, and I have the under. The next game is number 12 BYU versus number 12 Georgia Tech, Saturday, December 27, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I think BYU just has the advantage on defense. Maybe Haynes King with the rest comes out and plays his best game to end his college career because I do think they could definitely bring something in this game with more rest. But I also think BYU is extremely disciplined and Kalani Sitake will have this team ready to get a big bowl win. They don't take these spots lightly. It's going to be limited possessions, but BYU will win this game 27-21, minus 2.5, and I have the under. The next game is Fresno State versus Miami, Ohio, Saturday, December 27, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I think this is a super evenly matched game, but Miami, Ohio did have a couple important opt-outs, and I like Fresno to win this game. I think their defense can get the job done. I like them 24-21. I like Miami, Ohio to keep it close, covering plus 3.5, and I have the under. The next game is San Diego State versus number 25 North Texas, Saturday, December 27, 5:45 p.m. Eastern Time. I really just think North Texas has the much better team and staff. San Diego State's defense was very potent at times, but remember when they played a couple of good offenses, they got exposed. They lost 38-6 to Hawaii. North Texas should have their star quarterback playing in this game. They did lose their running back to injury in the conference title game. But I think North Texas is much better. They played in the tougher conference. They've been tested this year. San Diego State didn't really play anybody. I like North Texas 38-17, covering minus 6.5, and I have the under. The next game is Missouri versus number 19 Virginia, Saturday, December 27, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Missouri hasn't had any big opt-outs yet and not a lot of injuries, so there's good news in this game. We'll see if they maintain a lot of their players, and if Ahmad Hardy plays, they should win this game easily. But Virginia's defense has been testy at times this year. Chandler Morris is a good quarterback, and I think they'll fight in this game. The SEC had struggles in bowl games last year, but Missouri is the superior program in this game. I like them 27-24, covering +7, and I have the over. The next game is number 21 Houston versus LSU, Saturday, December 27, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time. I really think Houston just has so much more to play for in this game. If you look at LSU, they lost Mansour Delaney, Whit Weeks, their head coach. A lot of players opting out, a lot of players injured. Nussmeier is injured, their top wide receivers are injured. Multiple star defensive players entered the portal. While Houston, they didn't lose a lot, and they're going to have some good players playing in this game. And they just have so much more to play for in this game with a very solid head coach. Willie Fritz is on the rise. Connor Wigman should be playing in this game. I think they'll grind out a win, 21-20, covering +1.5, and I have the under. The next game is App State versus Georgia Southern, December 29, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Georgia Southern won this game last time around, and this time, App State will literally be playing without some of their best defensive players. Thomas Davis, Dylan Manuel, Rondo Porter, they combined for around 100 tackles and over 15 tackles for loss. All three of them opted out. They lost one of their best cornerbacks, one of their best linebackers to the portal. And when I say opting out, I meant transfer portal, kind of the same deal. Yeah, Georgia Southern is just the better team. They already played once. Georgia Southern won. Definitely give me Georgia Southern 34-24, covering -2.5, and I have the under for this game. The next game is Louisiana Tech versus Coastal Carolina, Tuesday, December 30, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, while Louisiana Tech had some key opt-outs, Coastal Carolina did lose head coach Tim Beck. Louisiana Tech is the better team, I believe. Coastal Carolina has been hurt with injuries. I like Louisiana Tech 31-30, but I think Coastal Carolina could keep it close, covering +7, and I have the over. The next game is Illinois versus Tennessee, Tuesday, December 30, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. One of Tennessee's best defensive players opted out in Boo Carter. They've also been hurt with injuries in the secondary. Jamad McCoy, Ricky Gibson, both out. While Illinois is in a good position, both these defenses are not great, but I think there's good value on the Big Ten. They were able to win these bowl games last year, and I just think the SEC is overrated, especially Tennessee. Give me Illinois 31-28, covering +6.5, and I have the under. The next game is TCU versus number 16 USC, December 30, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. USC is a program on the rise with a lot of talent. The defense is heading in the right direction. When they lose their top two running backs, the third string steps up in a big way. TCU doesn't have a great run game, and I think USC will be able to contain the TCU passing attack, but TCU's defense will struggle against this high explosive offense. There's no rumors about Lane or Lemon opting out or Jaden Mayava, and I think USC is just the way better program. Give me USC winning this game easily, 38-24, covering -5.5, and I have the over. The next game is number 14 Vanderbilt versus number 23 Iowa, Wednesday, December 31, 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, the good news for both these teams are that they both have great cultures right now. Both these teams are maintaining their head coaches. Both these teams didn't have any key opt-outs. And I do believe both these teams have a lot to play for in this bowl game. Both these teams have very bright futures. Iowa is trending in the right direction offensively. Vanderbilt's coming off of their first 10-win season. And the winner of this game could be catapulted heading into the offseason. And I really just like this Iowa defense. Vanderbilt hasn't faced many great defenses like Iowa's this season. And I think Iowa is just very underrated. I think the Big Ten has a lot of value. Give me Iowa 30-24, covering +4, and I have the over. The next game is Duke versus Arizona State, Wednesday, December 31, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Arizona State is without some of their best players, a couple of their running backs out. Sam Levitt enters the transfer portal. Jordan Tyson declared for the NFL draft and is also injured. So many guys entering the portal for Arizona State. And there's not really any teams that has it as bad as Arizona State with injuries and opt-outs. Duke is coming off of an ACC championship win. They'll have some key players playing in this game, and I think they'll win it pretty easily. They might have to fight because Arizona State has a solid defense and very well coached. But give me Duke 27-20, covering -1.5, and I have the under for this game. The next game is Texas versus Michigan, Wednesday, December 31, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I do think Texas is just the better team. They have the better defense, and they'll have enough offensively to take advantage of this somewhat weak Michigan defense. There's times where they've got exposed. And all the terrible news around Sharon Moore, this team might be distracted. Texas hasn't announced any big opt-outs yet, and they have some key players playing in this game. They're a well-coached team under Steve Sarkisian. I like Texas 27-17, covering -4.5 and I have the over. The next game is number 15 Utah versus Nebraska, Wednesday, December 31st, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Emmett Johnson, the star running back, was the only hope for Nebraska to win this game, and he opted out. Dylan Raiola is out for the season. But Utah also lost their head coach in Kyle Whittingham. Personally, with Devin Dampier playing and Wayshawn Parker playing and some key pieces for this Utah team, no big opt-outs looking at the reports. I like Utah, they've been able to run the ball super well. Give me Utah 35-24. I'll take Nebraska plus 13.5 and I have the over. The next game is Texas State versus Rice, Friday, January 2nd, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Both these defenses are not great and I expect a shootout. Give me Texas State 38-35. I like Rice plus 10.5 and I have the over. The next game is Cincinnati playing Navy, Friday, January 2nd, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Cincinnati had a key defensive lineman opt out, but outside of that, they haven't lost much. I know they've kind of fall off a cliff at the end of this season, but I do think they are better than Navy. I do think they'll find a way to get back on the right track with a win to end this season. So give me Cincinnati 27-21. I like Navy plus 6.5 and I have the under. Both SMU and Arizona haven't announced any big opt-outs. This game will be played Friday, January 2nd, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and I look forward to a very competitive game. But the way Arizona was playing football to end this season, the way Noah Fafita was playing, their defense is pretty stout. I like them to fight and win in this game. I think the Big 12 just has more value than the ACC. They were the better conference. I like Arizona 31-24, -1.5, and I have the over. And finally, we are on to the last game. Friday, January 2nd, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Mississippi State will play Wake Forest. I think this is a very even matchup. Wake Forest had a very decent season under the year one head coach, and I really think this game will be close, but ultimately I will take Mississippi State. I like them to win this game 24-20, -3, and I have the under. But anyways, that will do it for all of my bowl game predictions for 2025. You guys let me know your predictions down in the comments below. Now let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel because we upload a ton of college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing and also consider checking out my socials down in the description below. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.